Shout out to our sponsors at ICONBet. Open source, decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. ICONBet, made by the players, for the players. Eye on Icon is proudly supported by Icon Nation and the Icon community. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Eye on Icon, the episode where we go around the Icon ecosystem and bring you the latest and greatest news. And it's getting close, things are exciting. But first, before we talk about the excitement, Icon Grapher, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Good, man, good. Oh, well, good. Things have stabilized now, but we've literally had 130-kilometer winds and it's been chaotic. Like, it literally has felt the house was going to fly away. And to top it off, just a few weeks back we had an earthquake, and this wind has been so bad that it just felt like a constant earthquake over here. Crazy.
It's almost like it's like a metaphor for the markets this past week.
Yes. Oh, what a way to lead into the markets. Well done, man.
Yeah. I meant to calculate what 130 kilometers was in terms of miles per hour for United States people, but I neglected to do that. But either way, it sounds high. So
I think 70 miles, because it's double.
Yeah, no, that's
close to
that's definitely not low.
Yeah, no, insane.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, as far as markets are concerned, it was kind of a weird week. Like just a couple hours ago, like maybe a little longer than that, we had that random, I don't know if it was like a fat finger or something like that, but we were kind of hovering around like 61, and then it just wicked all the way down to 58, and then got recovered almost instantly. And it was kind of nice because it just basically cleared out a lot of it liquidated a lot of longs and kind of reset some of the open interest in funding. So that's always good. Obviously, not good for the people who were longing and got liquidated. But that's the risk you take on when you're longing. And so, we were below 60 for a couple of days there. Sounds like 58 was kind of a key zone there, but basically held throughout this whole process. I don't know if you have the chart open, but last I looked, we're at somewhere in the 60s. It's like 60,000, 60, 61, something in that range. So that's, I think everyone seems to indicate things are looking pretty healthy. It's kind of nice that we hit all-time high and then cooled off a little bit. I remember last time it was like we hit all-time high and then a new one, and then a new one seemingly like every 5 days or something like that. And we know how that ended. So I don't mind if we hang out a little bit and kind of take our time climbing up more and more. I'm sure you saw the tweet thread that Will Clement, who's one of the on-chain guys, put together basically all sorts of metrics that a bunch of people have kind of created using on-chain data and I guess other data as well, trying to show just kind of where things are at in terms of what the on-chain data says. And there's kind of there wasn't a specific conclusion, but my takeaway was that things are warming up. We're not like near the top, but we're certainly closer to the top than we are probably the bottom. Was kind of my sense, which would make sense. But at the same time, it sounds like there's still potentially a lot of room to run, which is kind of consistent with the Plan B model, if you're into that. And then also, I don't know, just kind of the sentiment out there as well that I don't, other than SHIB starting to pump like crazy, I'm not getting a sense from a lot of the traders that things are looking too shaky. So and I'm not feeling euphoric either yet. So that's usually a good sign as well that the top isn't it. So especially as far as ICX is concerned, it's been a little frustrating for a lot of people. We've been hovering in that 190 to 210 range for seemingly forever. I'm sure it's been like a week or something like that, maybe a little bit longer. But it's kind of some alts. It's one of those things where there's just not a lot of volume right now. Some alts are obviously pumping a good amount, especially those kind of more toward the top. But a lot of them in that 50 to 100 range, kind of where ICX is. At least as far as I could tell, they're all just kind of hanging out, a little bit choppy, not much volume. So the cycle hasn't quite gone through those yet, or this little mini cycle hasn't got, little mini alt cycle or whatever you want to call it. So, I certainly would like to see ICX a bit higher. And I know some people, I've noticed more and more anxiety from the community. But it's one of those things where you just got to be patient, let things play out. And obviously with 2.0 and BTP and ICE coming out too, it's not like we're staring off into abyss or anything like that.
No, look, I think you covered so much, man.
Yeah,
But
sorry.
no. Look, I've been showing the
I gotta remember to
tweets.
take breaks.
No, look, it's great stuff because you know that will thread. I haven't read it yet. I actually have it saved to read because I really want to
You
dedicate
you
time. I know.
you you'll probably need to read it like 3 or 4 times,
Yes.
just because there's again it's a lot of data, a lot of data that isn't immediately obvious exactly what it means or how it works or anything like that. But if you kind of read his commentary and kind of synthesize it, you can kind of get the conclusion.
Yeah. And the tweet though he put out, so I had this on screen. 46 million of BTC longs got liquidated in 10 minutes, and you could actually, when you look at the chart, you could clearly see that 4 hour candle went wicked all the way down to
Right.
57. But look, even last week when we covered markets, I believe we called this out. I made this comment that on chainers have things are looking good, but we're funding rates are through the roof, which is a bad sign. Means we could see a bit of a correction. That's exactly what's been playing out. But one thing, and he's a great follow, Bill. He's a young guy, and just it's quite a cool story. Worked at Target a year ago, and now has close to 400,000 followers, and really good at analyzing the on-chain data, which you're right, I've tried to learn, just can't wrap my head around it. But anyway, I digress. I think it was some great call outs, and we're seeing, even though the markets have been dipping quite violently from corrections, people are still longing the dips. So it's not actually helping funding rates.
Yeah, that's kind of what the problem is. Like the price, as the price was grinding down, people were just longing more because they're trying to long the dip. So usually, you'd like to, usually that doesn't happen until price starts moving up again. People kind of get more um, confident. But yeah, the combination of price going down and the funding going up, you usually don't want to see that, and I think that's kind of responsible for some of the turmoil. I saw someone else kind of say, "Look, we still, there's the open interest, and then there's the funding rates, and there's a few different metrics to determine how much kind of leverage is out there,
Yeah.
and still." Still not a low amount of open interest out there. So that's another thing that kind of people are saying if that can get reset, we'll be on a really good track. Now, doing that sounds like it'll have to go down to like 53 or something like that,
Oh yeah.
which wouldn't be fun. Not that it has to, but that could be something that makes things a bit more sustainable long term. But we'll see.
Yeah, agree. I think ETH's come back up, even when looking at ICX. You can that trend line is for the dailies. You can see how we've taken that dip, but it's happened before, so we've had a solid. I don't know about that volume, but yeah, it looks. Let's hope we can climb back up. But again, that said, quite a lot happening with Icon. I mean, it leads perfectly into something called Icon 2.0. What do we got there, Icongrapher?
Yep. So we got. I mean, we've kind of gone over this schedule. I don't know, 3 times now, 4 times now.
Yeah,
Our listeners are pretty familiar with it. We've already went through phase one, which was that kind of was it like it was a 10-day process of importing all the blocks over, or whatever kind of whatever the technical term was. I don't know if I used the right one, but I think everyone kind of knows what it was. So now I think we're in the middle of stage two, if I recall correctly, which is each of the P-reps is importing the database, which should take a couple days, and then once all the P-reps are synced up with that, they can move on to stage three. And so on November 3rd, around 10 p.m. KST, which is, I assume, Korean Standard Time, stage three will commence. Exchanges will be recommended to pause their deposit and withdrawal operations for ICX. Public endpoints will be taken offline from 11 p.m. KST. Icon Foundation will submit a network revision proposal. IconX and HANA wallets will not be able to submit new transactions during this downtime. On November 4th, we expect voting for the proposal to be over and hopefully approved by P-reps. So looks like based on this tentative schedule, or maybe a bit more than tentative, we'll have a kind of November 4th will be kind of the start date, kickoff, whatever you want to call it. So that is just, I believe, a week away from where we're at now, maybe a little less than that. So I think we got something planned that Feds might want to talk about more for that process.
yep,
But nonetheless, it's literally right around the corner here. It looks like the entire process up to this point, from the each stage, it's gone about as well as expected. So that's certainly good, and hopefully we can continue that way all the way through the end.
yep. And look, I think part of these are the dates, right? It shouldn't be a secret if you didn't know it. By November 4th, at some point, and let's talk KST time zone to keep it simple. We're going to be Icon 2.0. So the only aspect that could cause a delay in this is when everything is ready, all the P reps will have to vote. Now, if you know you're thinking all your P rep and you're listening, make sure you're aware of this exact period of time where it ticks across. I think this is why the 3rd of November stage 3 is being called out. Post that there will be uh, the proposal that needs to get voted on. As soon as the voting has passed, that's where then the transition starts, and the exact timings will be known. So that's just a little bit of unknown. So as long as the P reps are united on that front, we should kind of hit that 4-5 a.m. KST time, hopefully, where we start to transition and Icon 2.0 era begins. And with that, obviously, you've seen a bit of hype. Thank you to the community. Put this tweet out. I need to find it, but ridiculous amounts of, well, the Iron Icon Twitter has never got that amount of likes and retweets ever. So, and big shout out to the community for really getting behind it. And I know at the moment I'm hinting community members, but we have more than that planned. Like, literally everyone from on Icon to do with Icon, works with Icon. I'm trying to arrange to have them in the show, and we're talking from Min, Ricky, Scott, Dakey, all the guys, and so much more. But until I have it on a piece of paper that I can guarantee, I don't want to, go crazy with it and then not. What overpromise, underdeliver? I'd rather underpromise, overdeliver for the live stream party that we're going to be hosting while the networks are transitioning. So we'll get. Sorry, Iconographer, you were going to say something. Go. No,
I can't remember what it was. No, I don't think so.
No, cool. Look, yeah. So the goal here is it's going to be a live stream on YouTube. So we're going to have people drop in and out. So they won't people say if Min, Ricky do come on, they're not going to be there the whole 2-3 hours, however long it takes. But they'll drop in. We're going to kind of talk what this means. Hopefully, I'll do what we do best, Iconographer, and pressure them for some alpha. And so it won't just be about Icon 2.0. Hopefully, we'll get some other news. But trying to work with various P reps as well to come on the show during that time, because it is a moment and everyone should be celebrating. And it'll be good to hear, I guess, what people are hoping the new era is going to bring and what we're going to do pushing forward, so we can have those conversations live. So very excited about this, and to keep perspective on it, it is going to be, I'm going to try and make it casual. Like, we want it to be casual. I don't want it to be super, everyone's just got to come on and have some fun. That's why I want community members that have been very active in the Icon space coming on and giving their 2 cents and how they feel about it as well. And hopefully, they can have a bit of a powwow with a few of the foundation members if they're on at the same time. So I'm really looking forward to it. Hey, I'm going to take a day off from my day job just so that, because this all happened in the middle of the night for me. So I just try to plan it all out. Exciting times.
So we got another little kind of a cool graphic that got put together. I'm sure people saw it floating around, but just kind of a nice article reminding people of to what extent how much the ecosystem is present already, and how much with BTP and interoperability, kind of what the promises are. So there wasn't anything super new, I would say, in this article and write up, but I do think it is a helpful resource to kind of, people are asking about what's Icon got going on, if they're new to the community or new to the project, something good to send them. But it's got basically pretty much anything Icon touches in any way, shape, or form is basically put on here. So pretty good, pretty good infographic all around. There's even a little Ion Icon shout out mention inclusion in there as well. So that was certainly nice to see. So again, nothing super new, but certainly again something nice to share on social media. Really good, succinct imagery of everything that Icon has going on, and you can start to kind of use your imagination a little bit more and see what the additional possibilities are once BTP is up and going.
Yeah, look, it was great, and just starting. I'm gonna start making these call outs. So you see this when marketing, marketing, marketing. I know, even I've felt that way at times, and we know for a fact there've been few marketing people brought on board in the foundation, and I assure you they have. I do talk to them and give my 2 cents constantly, but this is kind of a product of them coming on board, getting across everything icon and starting to put information out there for us then to run with. So that's the end goal. And I think I may be jumping here, but one of the things that was great recently, the Monk Academy. You know what? I forget what they're called now. They're in the OWN channel, the monks, the academy, the piece that Arush really has taken charge of, held a fantastic discussion just this week. And when it's up, I encourage you to listen to it. All around marketing, had a few different. I mean, Digital Dave was on there, then Davey Darko as well, and he actually owns a marketing and firm in and deals with NFTs in the crypto space. And he had this great comment where he said a lot of the other communities have been extremely successful in creating, say, threads, information, things like that, because from the source of these foundations, information has flowed, and then they've been able to expand off it. And he called this out as probably one of the Icon ecosystem's bottleneck, and call it as it is. It's true. And Daiki was actually on the call, and he said, "You know what? That's a great call out, and we're actively trying to resolve this and make information flow out." And these are some of the products we're seeing happening. So this is one of them. This great infographic that really highlights at a glance everything going on in the ecosystem. And I feel like one of the big things I can graph, in the last month, I've really started to see a lot of news about Moonbeam, and there's a
Yep.
bit of, and this is going to be one of our literally when BTP is enabled post Icon 2.0, Binance Smart Chain and Moonbeam are going to be one of the two chains that go live off the bat, I believe. So I think there's big things happening, and it's great to see this information starting to flow. And let's, as a community, start using this information and breaking down possibilities. Sometimes that's what creates a bit of inspires an idea. Someone actually looks at it and goes, "Did you know? Thanks to this BTP integration, this going live, this DApp on this can create this world of opportunity." Someone looks at it and goes, "Holy crap, that resonates with me. Let me explore this ecosystem a bit more." So hopefully we start seeing a lot of that happening. But yeah, sorry, Icongraph, I know I rambled, but I feel it was okay to ramble at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else we got?
So moving on to Balanced, a couple updates as far as just some of the voting proposals that went through. Number BIP 10, which reduces the origination fee to 0.75. That one was approved by 89%, so pretty almost unanimous. This is what we discussed this a pretty good amount either on the last show, so we don't need to go into a whole lot of it here. But just wanted to update everyone on that going into effect. I imagine that shouldn't be too difficult of a change, just because all it is tweaking a number. But don't necessarily hold me to the fire on that one if I have that wrong. We have did you have any comments on BIP 10?
No, it's great. I think we'll cover all the BIPs, and then yeah, looks good.
Okay. So BIP 11, which I believe, so this was submitted by a community member that was not Scott. The proposal was to use SICX in the reserve fund to buy back BALN. This was another one we discussed last week. As a reminder, it was basically the theory being that with the airdrop for ICE coming up soon, people are trying to accumulate more ICX to the extent where it's at the BALN potentially pays a price because people are selling BALN in order to pick up SICX. So the proposal was to use some of the reserve fund to buy back any BALN under the price of 0.9 SICX per BALN to help offset the sell-off of BALN leading up to the ICE snapshot. So this is one that some people thought was a good idea. Some people didn't think it was a good idea. They didn't think the job necessarily of the platform should be to kind of artificially prop up the price just through buybacks and things like that. So I didn't follow it close enough to know if there were other arguments that emerged, but that was kind of the, when I first looked at it and when it first came about, that was kind of the way that things were shaking out as far as what the dialogue and the debate was. So I believe this is the first one that's been rejected. It is it basically got so it got a majority. It got just shy of 60%, but it requires 2/3 to go through. So we had 60% participation, but this one was not approved, so we will not see it go into effect, obviously.
So this one, just quickly to drop in here. So this committee member actually joined the Iron Icon Telegram chat and had a and was just talking. It was good. He had the right intentions. He even said, "Yeah, I should have floated the idea in the forums and gotten a bit of feedback." But honestly, I think there was another bit that we were saying was a close call. But when you look at this is very close. It looks like it was the community was almost divided in this. And it goes to show like stuff like this. First of all, kudos that someone apart from Scott and well Brian, but yes, great on him. But someone apart from them put through something different. We want to see more of that, and at the same time, kudos to him to doing it. He even said, and I agree, if it was put in the forums and spoken about a little bit, this may have actually passed. So because people would have voiced a few of their concerns, and the back and forth would have happened. So very important why those forums exist. But yeah, anyway, back to you, Iconographer.
Yep. So, and then the third one is 12. This one is to lower the loan to value to 25%. And for this is kind of there's a broader context here. There was a kind of a thread put together called Scott called the Active LTV Management Thread. And so what it is essentially a strategy. I'll just read it because it's not super long. Managing LTV, and LTV, of course, is loan to value. So the amount of collateral you have to put up relative to the amount of loan that you take out. Managing LTV around the circulating supply of BNUSD is pretty straightforward. We don't need an extensive discussion every time we need to change LTV. We just need to follow the below principles. So principle one is, if BNUSD is too cheap for too long, the DAO must lower LTV to stop people from minting more BNUSD while also encouraging them to pay back their debt. If BNUSD is too expensive for too long, DAO must increase LTV to allow borrowers to mint more BNUSD. At some point, occurring, borrower behavior needs to be actively managed in order to properly manage the supply and demand. Learn more about managing behavior on another thread. So we don't need to go into that necessarily, but this is essentially in response or consistent with that goal. So basically, by lowering LTV, which this proposal would do, to 25%, I can't remember where we're currently at.
It was 35.
Okay, so basically makes it, so basically if you have a loan taken out of a pretty high amount, you'll need to pay back of that in order to get that ratio going, and also it'll be harder to take out a loan unless you have to put up more collateral. So hopefully that's fairly straightforward and easy to understand. This is a vote that got approved 78% to 21%, so well above the 2/3, 66.66% required. So that one will go into effect. I don't know if it's actually been tweaked already yet. But
I think
if not, it should be soon, I imagine.
It has. Scott tweeted out that basically as soon as that's gone into effect, we can see BNUSD kind of almost at $1 now. And if you remember last week in the weekly news, I went on this big rant, a good rant, but I was making comparisons to MakerDAO. That's essentially it, right? There's too much, and one of the ways they controlled it was by stopping the minting process or capping it, raising interest rates so that people pay back loans, and kind of this is the whole idea behind this LTV. So yeah, it seems to, I haven't gone and checked right now, but based on Scott's tweet, it's enacted, and we can see that the parity has come back, which is very important. And this is very important that we be very stable and hold that peg. So good to see a lot of the hard work is paying off now. The last beast is rebalancing. I can't talk about it. I'm scarred. as in just how much it happens. But I have worked out a process. I ignore it now. Every 2 days, I just address it, and, and sometimes it works out in my favor, other times it doesn't. But I definitely don't chase rebalancing anymore. So hopefully, with all these implementations, we should see that kind of slow down a bit as well.
Absolutely. So moving on to Ohm. So there's currently the proposal to launch with BNUSD as a market, so you can either supply or borrow it. That is still underway, I believe. I tried to open it on my end here, but nothing's loading on the data for Ohm, I think because I'm probably not logged in or something like that. Of course, this is
I have it.
Something.
I have it open, as in the.
So I don't know if you could read the numbers there.
Yeah. So it's what is it? It's being redistributed. So ICX is 40%, USDC 20, USDS 20, BNUSD 20. Thank you. I wanted it to be, even Steven. It shouldn't be any less. So it's great. And then the rest borrow and lend is 50%. So yeah.
And it's at I got the data up now. It's at 98% approval. So I'm not interested to know why we're getting some rejections, but I guess on anything you vote for, you're always going to have people on one side or the other. So that there's 1 day and 5 hours left as we record this now. So probably by the time you hear this, we'll be either pretty close or officially finished. I don't anticipate this kind of have this. I imagine they probably have this set up. They knew they were going to add future tokens, so I imagine they built in a mechanism to do that pretty quick. Again, don't necessarily hold me to that because I'm speculating a little bit there, but that's my sense of how it would work. So I imagine we'll see here pretty soon a way to utilize the BNUSD. So if you have a loan out in BNUSD unbalanced, it's super easy to and it's just kind of sitting there. It's really easy to move it over to Ohm and just have it earn you additional yield and some Ohm tokens as well. So you could be earning, you'll be earning ICX with your staked ICX. You'll be earning BALN with your loan that's taken out. You'll be earning interest on the BNUSD, and you'll be earning Ohm tokens as well. So kind of a quadruple threat, I guess you could say.
Yep. No, it's a good one. It's my view. Day one, this should have been there, but it's great and community behind it. Yeah. And every proposal, even if I reckon if you put up a proposal and say DAO fund gets paid out to everyone because say there's $1 billion in there, then they decide 2 million to just get paid out to everyone as a thank you. Someone will go in there and reject it as well. you know what I mean? It's just anyway. Okay. Well, next up, anything else on Ohm, or shall we move on?
I think we can move on.
Cool. I think I've covered this one already. So, Monks Academy. There we go. Okay. So, Arush assembled quite the cast, which was good. And, Daiki was there as well. And we had a real honest conversation. It was really good. And just, as I said, getting Davey's perspective. Digital Dave had a lot of great stuff in there as well. And Davey really, I feel there was some points that was just, I was like, yes. And it was called out in with such a perfect example, correlating Chainlink's situation at the time where they also fell out of the top 100, what they did to, engage the community and how it's kind of created this Chainlink army, and now, you see where it's at and that community vibe in there as well. Well, it's not community vibe. I would almost say it's like a religion in the Chainlink army, but it was great. Again, I really do recommend when it's up, it should be up already, checking it out.
Yeah, and then is it? I'm trying to remember. Do they have that in podcast form, or is it? What's the best? I guess what are ways people can listen to that if they want to listen to it?
So I believe there's a YouTube channel, the Monks Academy YouTube channel. I don't believe it's hosted on any other podcasting platforms.
All right.
I could be wrong. I haven't seen it. I haven't even seen it published. Yeah.
Gotcha. So I guess we'll move on to our little NFT section here. So we did get an update updating process for the craft marketplace. So one of the cool things, and I think something a lot of people were waiting for, was the ability to filter. So when you do an advanced search, I think that's what it's called. You can basically say, if you're looking, say you're looking through gangsta bets, you can say, show me all the gangsta bets that are male, wearing this type of hat, with a cigar, and it'll filter it down to all those type of attributes. And then, of course, you can sort those by price or a few other categories as well. So makes it work for good deals or like really really rare features or things like that. It makes it a lot easier rather than having to comb through thousands of gangsta bets. This is something that's on the gangsta bet marketplace as well, but something I know that Craft has been working on for a while, and makes it it's something that I think Craft is to a certain extent modeling itself of some of the features that made OpenSea successful, and that's certainly one of them. So when you have when we get more and more of these NFTs that are kind of the they have these types of qualities and things like that are different rarities and all that stuff. Having this ability to search through them makes things a lot easier, a lot more powerful, and I think makes the market a bit cleaner as well.
Yeah, no, I love this. Actually, it's good. You give all the craft updates. I haven't been keeping up with or using the protocol a bit. In fact, my little guy keeps giving me his pig punks, and he's like, "Have you got the new one?" And every day he's creating new ones. I've gotten really behind on that. But that aside, I have been keen after I saw this while we were planning for the news. I'm like, "Ooh, I really want to get back into the craft network DApp and just explore it a little more to see what changes have been put in place." It's great. I think a month ago I actually went on the Discord and said, have we got a bit of a roadmap, some plans, something like that? And literally as if on cue, not because I prompted it, but literally that day, then we started seeing all these Medium articles and, maps, the tier system for the tokenomics and all this stuff happened. So, it's great to see, and I'm loving every update they are making to the protocol, taking it seriously.
No, absolutely. And then, so another piece of news as well is they have made it so you can, or I don't know if it's officially launched yet, but yeah, you can now log in using BridgePay. Anyone can now mint and trade NFTs on Icon with no more than an email address. So they also added another feature. We have also enabled the hide NFTs from profile feature to allow you to choose what you display on your profile. So just a little bit of if people want a little bit more privacy potentially, or don't want people to see all the stuff they're holding or whatever it might be. That's a nice kind of feature to have as well. But obviously the BridgePay is, its key selling point is that it makes it easier for just kind of more regular folks to be able to kind of bridge on, pun kind of intended, bridge onto crypto in a way that doesn't require, a lot of complicated exchanges and all that other stuff. So nice little entry point here for more casual crypto people who don't want to have to hop through all those different obstacles and things like that. So hopefully, just increases the participation and activity on Craft and Icon as well. So certainly cool to see them pumping out features as often as they are.
Yeah, love it. Look, honestly, I had not explored Bridge, right? Just no interest. And as I was exploring, and when I say no interest, let me clarify. It was more because we use wallets. This is what is bred into us. So for me, the email address, I just didn't. That's why I wasn't interested. I'd rather stick to the old traditional way. That said, as I've been exploring other ecosystem stuff, I saw this cool kind of bridge set up in another ecosystem, and I was like, "Oh, this is quite good. Let me go back and explore how bridge actually works." And setup process, brilliant. But the biggest thing that hit me, as soon as you set bridge up, because it then routed you to stably, it was just like, to me, it was the biggest disconnect. You got this beautiful setup process, and then it just routed to another site to go through that process of setting up stably and stuff. So I feel from that perspective, there needs to be some kind of bridging where it just sticks into the bridge UI or something like that, where it doesn't create this huge disconnect. So that aside, I haven't tested this, but I believe this would kind of it doesn't. It just literally you'd use Bridge and you're signed in as per your wallet. So this would kind of give that whole experience. So I'm gonna check this out. Excited. It's a cool implementation.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on, so a couple of little pieces of news from ICONFI. Of course, that is the, um, I guess, yeah, I guess wallet application to kind of more traditional finance, but basically geared toward again, it's kind of less crypto native people, but easy to stake and earn on ICX, of course, but also Bitcoin, Ethereum. I'm trying to remember if they I can't remember if they added.
Oh,
You're certainly familiar with IconFi and what it is. And if not, it's certainly something you should check out just to see if it might be something up your alley. But they're doing a fun kind of promotional game here. It's based around Squid Game, which I'm sure you've at the very least heard of, if not watched. It's at this point the most watched show ever on Netflix. I just finished it a couple days ago and enjoyed it. Fez hasn't seen it yet, but I imagine that'll change here soon. So what it is they've kind of modeled it off of that. There's an application period. It ends on November 5th at 7 a.m. UTC. So you just have to do a KYC process, and you will play using Google Form and Twitter. So we don't know exactly what the games are yet, but it looks like they'll kind of you'll use those two, whatever they're hoping to accomplish. Basically, for every player who enters, there'll be 10 ICX put in a prize pool. The max is 45,600 ICX, and of course that's a number that is tied to the winning prize on the show. And however many survivors there are at the end of it will split whatever the prize pool is. So if there's 1,000 players, each one indicating 10 ICX, and two people end up winning, they'll each split it. So each person will get 5,000 ICX. So the more people play, the more the rewards can be. So the more people you can get in, the more the prize can potentially be. Starts on November 8th. There'll be a game every day until November 12th, so 5 days in a row. And you must survive all 5 games to be the final survivor. So basically all games will require you to submit the link to your Twitter posting via Google Forms. When the games begin, there will be a Twitter posting including the game missions, and after every game is finished, again, we don't know exactly what they are, but seems like a fun little fun kind of marketing approach, but also a way for folks to win. So I'm certainly kind of excited to be watching how this plays out. I don't know if I'll necessarily play, but nonetheless, it's kind of a cool idea. And so if you're interested in potentially winning what could be a good amount of ICX, and you are a user of IconFi, I'd encourage you to look more and sign up and have some fun.
yeah, it's good. Seems like ICONFI really pumping out stuff now. So something's changed. Their drive. I don't know what, but it's great to see. Because remember, not just this. Like a couple of weeks back, we know that the ICX token is going to migrate back to Ethereum, and it's going to be done via IconFi. So there's apart from these competitions, there's a lot of other stuff going on in the background via this platform, which is quite cool.
Yeah, and so and on that note, they're also launching an ambassador program. So they've noticed there's a lot of people out in the community who have been they just talk positively about IconFi and kind of promote it on their own to a certain extent. And so we thought, why not incentivize more people to do this? So they are setting up an ambassador program. I don't know how similar this is to the original Icon ambassador program. I don't remember the details on that when it first started. That was quite a while ago, relatively speaking. But basically, if you become an IconFi ambassador, you will be required to do the followings. Every IconFi ambassador will receive $100 worth of ICX every month. You need to complete KYC and using a fixed savings product. You're required to share the screenshots of your activities and fixed screen at least twice a week to show the crypto interest you have been receiving. There's a few other steps here that get a bit more complicated, but ultimately it doesn't seem like it's a whole lot of work here. You're how IconFi is working on your behalf, how much money you're making, sort of stuff like that. So I think, again, a lot of people are already kind of doing that already. But if that's one of you, or if you want to start doing that and get paid, that's what they're offering. So again, another way to do a nice promotion, and I imagine they'll get a pretty good number of signups there.
Yeah, there you go. I stand by my previous comments. They're just, on a roll. Great. Okay. What else we got?
Pull up my notes here. I got lost on my iPad here. We got an update from TJ regarding the switch to the BNUSD stablecoin approach, which is something that was kind of I think it was kind of an idea you got started, Feds, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I pitched an idea, a variation to this, but the goal was utilizing our stablecoins so that our treasury doesn't uh, fluctuate based on price. Like at the end of the day, we want building to happen in a bull and bear market. We shouldn't go into hibernation because there's no funding. So yeah.
Yeah. So basically, because it's kind of a little bit of a complex process, but basically because the Icon 2.0 coming up in the way like that, they're basically they figured out the best solution was essentially until they could launch the stablecoin treasury after Icon 2.0, they're going to disable the ability to submit new CPS proposals until that happens. So, if you were dying to get yours in within the next deadline, unfortunately, you have to wait a little bit until Icon 2.0 launches. Fortunately, that's only about a week away. I imagine very shortly, fairly shortly after that, they'll be able to get the stablecoin treasury launched. So just kind of a bit of a logistical gymnastics there, just based on the way kind of things lined up. But ultimately, if you're not a developer with a proposal that you're itching to get through, it really shouldn't impact you a whole lot. But just wanted to make that known for people who might be following votes or curious what proposals are coming through next or anything like that.
Yeah, I think I keep coming back to exciting times. Lots of good changes. Icon 2.0, PREPs transition, reward models change. Everything gets routed to CPS. Obviously, you can see what happens with CPS. They'll use it to mint a portion. You sell a bit of that into BNUSD so that there's a bit of a split fund in CPS. But then at the end of the day, we know once CPS hits its limit with ICX, it starts to burn. And that combined with BTP and the auction and process, so you see how these things start to stack up. And we are going to see a bit of a push in information come through in the next week around these points, because and to clear it up, and something me and Icongrapher were having a conversation about earlier is these aren't Icon 2.0 features. This is basically Icon 2.0 will launch, and a network proposal for these changes will be put up, and the PREPs will vote on it. Post that, there may be a few more adjustments that get voted in. However, this is the plan moving forward for Icon, for it to happen once we're in the Icon 2.0 era. So very important, and CPS is just, again, I come back to, instead of the Icon Foundation's rewards getting routed into CPS, it's just the entire network's set amount of inflation goes directly there. So we're not going to rely on someone to deposit it or anything like that. So exciting times, and hopefully we should then see that treasury. I know we see treasuries, 800 million come build here. And Geo, on one of the chats, actually, he always goes into, when he sees stuff like that, he goes and looks at the fine print, and he's like, oh, look at all the fine print, that is how much they release per year and what you have to do. Whereas CPS is very different. You come in with a full plan, and if it gets voted in, you get your funding. There's no, you'll only get this much. As long as you get approved and there's funding and your project's viable, valid, and we want it on Icon, you'll get funding to build. So exciting times.
A little while ago, they launched an Icon Discord channel. When it first came out, I was kind of like, well, we already have a Telegram, we already have Twitter. It's kind of, there's already a lot of places to be kind of talking about stuff. But it was kind of nice once I started following it a bit more. TJ's in there, Nim is in there. Hopefully, I pronounced that the way it's supposed to be pronounced, NYM. And they're both connected to the foundation, so they can provide some pretty constructive answers to questions and some direction and things like that. Obviously, they can't give away everything because they're not. A lot of stuff has to be confidential. But it has been nice to have them in there because you feel like you're getting good information. They're able to kind of deal with a lot of community concerns, questions, everything like that. A lot of questions get asked and answered at the same time. I'm sure that gets a little annoying. But nonetheless, I think it's a good place to at least hang out and check in from time to time because there is some pretty good info. So we even set up a little like mini. I don't know if we'll make this a thing every week, but some Discord alpha is what I'm calling it. So basically, some information that you might not have been privy to unless you'd kind of been hanging in there. And so this is actually something I was kind of wondering, and so I just floated it out there. Basically, my question was, from once we started really talking about Icon 2.0 and BTP, there was a implication that once Icon 2.0 was ready, it would be easy to just flip the switch on BTP. So I wanted to get clarity: is this really like, do they launch together? Is it shortly after? What's the timeline here? And Nim basically kind of he answered me and he answered someone else a little bit later, but basically it's not going to go live at the same time as Icon 2.0. He said maybe a few weeks after. And then separately, he said, I think we'll see BTP on mainnet this year. Maybe not full blown BTP, but at least our first integration ready and used for balanced /OMM, for example. And so, I think we hear, we have to wait a few more weeks than what we might have thought, and we get upset or whatever. But I think in the grand scheme of relative to over the last 4 years, and relative to the difficulties of Icon 2.0 and BTP happening at the same time, a few weeks is a pretty negligible period of time. Especially they need to make sure Icon 2.0 is up and running before they pivot to the next significant technological hurdle. So, and I think the other part, I think people might read not the full blown BTP and kind of see, well, what's that mean? And the way I interpret it is essentially, we're not going to have, we're obviously working with several different chains to get it integrated. But we're not. It's not like from day one, all 5 or 6 are going to be instantly, ready, raring to go. It'll be more that we'll have at the least, at the very least, one of them up and running once BTP launches, and so you can start moving assets over to BT or over to Ohm and Balanced or do whatever you're trying to do, and then they'll gradually be able to add more and more. So I don't know if that means like, they'll be able to add each additional one every week, or it takes a little longer. It probably just depends on which one it is. Obviously, we know that based on the announcements they've given in the past, that some chains are closer than others, and some have been going through testing. Some of them are already quote unquote done. So I think at the very least, sounds like by the end of this year, we'll at least get our first kind of taste of BTP and what it can do. And then moving into 2022, we'll get even more and more, and we'll get more momentum and really start to see the economies or the network effect work out. So it was good to get a little bit more. I don't say necessary clarity, but at least understanding as far as kind of how that's looking to play out, and so people can kind of set their expectations correctly and not operate under the belief that as soon as 2.0 is on, that BTP is up and running and going crazy and everyone's running through Icon and everything like that. It'll be a bit more of a gradual process, but there will be a process.
And just on that, like this shouldn't come as a shock or a surprise, or I get delays have plagued Icon at times. This has been quite transparent. Scott a while back has actually called this out in different forums, saying BTP would pretty much be enabled 2 weeks post Icon 2.0. So and Naeem, I call him Naeem. Okay, Naeem. Yeah, I don't know, but he is an actual dev in the foundation. This is why he's in there, and he drops a very detailed alpha in there, and he even dropped some stuff around BTP and stuff, how it will work, because he's behind the scenes working on these things, so he knows. And he's just reconfirmed something Scott has called out, even to the point Scott made that one chain will be enabled and then slowly other chains will start to come up. So and that's fine, it's great. 2 weeks isn't long. It's a good pickup, Icongrapher. You've picked up quite a lot. What else have we got?
So we got some little bit of news on, I won't say news, but at least so the short is Ricky. It sounds like Ricky Dodds, who's been with Icon for 2 or 3 years now. He used to be kind of more of a public face, but has been kind of more in the background, still doing a lot, but just not as public as he used to be. Basically, he's the one kind of spearheading, I guess, leading the charge is the phrase that got used in Discord, and also pointed out that we are working with 2 external teams, technical and one oriented around marketing. As far as ICE is concerned, we knew when the ICE announcement came or shortly after, we knew that there was a company that they were utilizing that kind of specializes in this type of tech in order to build it. But I was encouraged that they kind of put Ricky in charge just because I think he's pretty sharp, knows what he's doing. He's got familiar with the ecosystem. They didn't bring in some kind of random outside person in order to kind of lead this thing. So I thought that was encouraging. He can create a lot of synergies, understands where Icon's coming from, understands how to utilize what we have in the Icon community and how it can benefit ICE and all that other good stuff. So nice to see that, and looking forward to getting more info on kind of how the rest of the teams are comprised, hopefully in the near future.
Just while you're dropping that alpha, and I agree, this just came in. It looks like Ricky's in live stream party. Woo! So I have official confirmation. But again, I won't share that publicly unless you've listened to this podcast. You've heard it first. That said as well, I think it's interesting. Nah, let's not go into that. I'm excited, and the comments he made, he is quite knowledgeable. He knows a lot of stuff. Great. People may straight away go, oh, but we don't see him on Twitter. I've been giving this a bit of thought, and I'm ranting here, but everyone doesn't have to be on Twitter saying stuff to imply they're actually working on things. And I just feel like everyone needs a reminder, right? Sometimes your most effective people are in the background working and not tweeting. I know if I get caught up in social media, I'm not doing anything else, So apart from that rant, back to you, Icongrapher.
I think crypto has spoiled a lot of people to where a lot of times they get entitled to speak to people. You would never, you wouldn't be someone who bought Amazon stock and then get upset because Jeff Bezos isn't tweeting enough, or the senior vice president in charge of shipping isn't tweeting enough, or whatever it might be. And crypto is the only place where on the one hand someone can instantly pop into a Telegram room and demand to speak to the CEO. And actually have that mentality. You would really never see that in kind of real business life to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. Now, the other side of that is sometimes the CEO will actually say, yeah, how can I help you? So, there's good sides and bad sides where, yeah, it is nice that a lot of the times these people are willing to be pretty accessible and hang out and answer questions in a very kind of casual way. But at the same time, it does often create an expectation that I think is sometimes unreasonable and also, again, not that helpful. I'd rather Ricky focus on doing the work he needs to do, building out what he needs to build out, rather than hopping onto Twitter and giving out information that someone else can give out or something like that. So
totally.
Yeah. And then I guess the other final part, and this was a bit more, I would say, controversial to a certain extent. There was some kind of discussion about what involving the airdrop snapshot and ICE and things like that. And I'll just read this. I posted on my Twitter. I posted this on my Twitter, so you might have seen it already. But basically, the comment was, or the response was, also trying to come up with a good airdrop mechanism, which will hopefully not hurt ICX holders in terms of valuation. That's something the community can also work on. Parentheses, the airdrop mechanism. If you have good ideas, you can write an article explaining how and why with some data to back it up. That's productive rather than checking and asking in the Discord for news every day. Yeah, that was. If you go into one of the downsides of the Discord is, and this is every channel is, when airdrop. But that aside, I think to a certain extent I appreciate what they're trying to do in terms of, the way the airdrops usually work is, a date is set, and then leading up to that date, the price goes up and up because people want to accumulate and, pick up as much as possible so they can, receive as much airdrop as possible. As soon as the snapshot hits, everyone who did that, or not everyone, but a lot of people who did that sell, so the price goes down. So I think they're worried about, okay, we don't want that kind of volatility / maybe the price goes way down and really crashes things or something like that. But at the same time, so I appreciate where they're coming from. The other side of me kind of thinks that, look, for God knows how long we've heard about how, ICX isn't focused on price. It's just, or Icon isn't focused on price. They're focused on building what they need to build, things like that, which I think is the right mindset. So it's just a little bit odd that they would now kind of pivot and say, okay, we're going to try to tweak this in order to make it so it's not going to hurt, it's not going to hurt the token holders. I think people understand there's going to be volatility. I think they're okay with it, and I think that I think they'd almost prefer it rather than the price kind of being stagnant for a couple of weeks. But that that's neither here nor there. It's one of those things where I think it's hard. I mean, and granted, they came up with what I think is a really good solution on VTP as far as how to give ICX holders value. So maybe there's a solution out there that no one's thought of or anything like that. But I think the process for airdrops is pretty straightforward. Especially they've already announced it's a one-to-one thing, right? So people don't have to try to do something else to qualify, or you don't have to fill out paperwork or whatever other way. It's not like you have to interact with the Icon chain. It's literally if you're holding ICX, you get ICE. That's which I think is a good way to go. But so I think trying to be creative, trying to do other things, I think it makes it potentially more complicated than it needs to be. Again, I appreciate what they're trying to do, but at the end of the day, I think my sense is the community just wants, just give us a date and drop it out there. Now, if they, the way to, I think, ultimately not create a whole lot of price problem is to just do an unannounced snapshot, say, oh, and then do an announcement later on saying, hey, we did this a week ago. So whatever you're holding on this date a week ago is what you'll be getting in ICE. I think by now there's a large expectation among the community that it won't be the case. So to a certain extent, I think they're boxed in isn't the right word, but I think there's been a mentality created in the community that says, like, look, we're going to get a pretty traditional airdrop, with a snapshot date, and yeah, we'll have some volatility around it, but that it is what it is, and just kind of create some clarity there. So again, for the third time, appreciate what they're trying to do. I'm glad they're trying to think out of the box. But I think a lot of people were frustrated to hear that, and worried that it was potentially going to make things worse, or it was diverging from what the expectations were. And not that you always have to let the community dictate what the strategy is, because sometimes the community can be wrong or emotional or way too driven by price. But at the same time, I think there are times you really need to kind of get a sense of where the community is coming from, what their thoughts are, and all that good stuff. So, saying all that, again, maybe tomorrow they release what the airdrop plan is, and it's completely brilliant and some really out of the box solution. But I try to do some digging around, and there's really only a limited number of models for airdrops. Again, especially once you've set the tokenomics on the one-to-one and all that stuff, you could do some people had suggested, oh, let's do vesting. So once you airdrop the ICE, 10% gets released on the first month, 10% on the second month, but that's great for the ICE token, but it doesn't really matter for the ICX token, because again, if the snapshots already happened, that's still, we're going back to square one there. So anyway, those are kind of my thoughts. I know a lot of the community kind of had some thoughts as well in that Twitter response. I think pretty much all of them were pretty reflective of what I just said. So anyway, that's just something that's kind of going on that I felt needed its own little discussion on the podcast here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing, isn't it? Like, even as soon as we post this stuff on Icon, first comment, when ICE airdrop, it's like, yeah, no, don't know. But it's interesting, because even the other day I started thinking, and I was typing this in the Icon chat, but I didn't, because maybe I found a flaw. But I thought in my head, rather than a single snapshot, like if there were a few snapshots, so what happens is it encourages you to hold over a period of time. And so say there were 4 snapshots, you got every snapshot that happened, you got 0.25 off your one ICX. So if you held your ICX across the 4 different snapshots, then you get 1 for 1. But yeah, I don't know. Again, then I came in my head when I was thinking of this, I was like, is it complicating the process?
Right. I think the other way to do it that I saw suggested, I can't remember where or when, but basically you say, okay, we're doing a snapshot sometime in the month of December or November or whatever, and you don't get the specific date. So, it kind of smooths it out a little bit, but ultimately, come November 30th, everyone's just going to still dump it. You know
Totally.
what I mean? If that's what their strategy was. So there's really and even on the 4 snapshots thing, after the 4th one, you'll still have the same thing. So it'll be, there's ways to make it more complicated that still don't solve it, but I think maybe it'll make it a little better, but it's just a problem. It's just a problem that's hard to get around.
Look, I mean, exactly. The dumping's going to happen. But that said, there is plans to, when Scott was earlier discussing, there's going to be a correlation to ICX and ICE governance, and maybe there's something there that we just don't know. But even this 4-step snapshot, the way I was thinking, because what would happen is, if, say, the first one, you could technically, if you missed out, it would encourage you to buy more through the snapshot processes. The accumulation, it would ramp up from an accumulation standpoint, because if you missed one, then you'd kind of want to try and hold a lot more, so that through the last 3 snapshots, so that you you can almost get to parity, as in one for one. But anyway, I don't know. I don't. I know there's something I'm not seeing on oversimplifying something like that. But look,
Maybe at my sleep I'll come up with a brilliant idea and then I'll totally change my mind because I think someone who might come up with a brilliant idea and all of a sudden totally see another alternative. But on the surface, it's hard to think about it.
but I think this comes back to, instead of when I airdrop, the conversation should be of this nature. Can it be different? Is it like they've said there's going to be an airdrop? Like people should start floating different ideas of airdrops and things. It's great to have that be happening. So yeah. Anyway, I think Rafa, you covered everything there. I just felt I had this idea. I wanted to kind of voice it to you, and then move on. I think that's all the news. Is there anything else, Iconographer?
No, I think that's it.
No, great. Okay. Look, as always, we didn't call this out earlier, so not financial advice, everyone. Remember that. Do your own research. I also, while I'm saying this, I wanted to again come back to, one thing I've noticed, especially that tweet from Mine Icon that got a ton of engagement. There is a little bit of, there's always negativity out there, but there's sometimes I see these comments, paid shills, and I thought for a moment I want to address this, just so that everyone knows. Me and Iconographer never got paid from anyone to put this together. No one came to us and go, "Can you?" It was from, well, we all know Iconographer has been doing this stuff for ages, and in the background, I have been a holder and always wanted to try something like this. So we got talking, and the idea came to fruition. But it is because of our, should I say, love and passion for the project, and this show exists. Yes, along the way, we've gotten a couple of sponsorships, and thank you. Those sponsorships have come as the teams have reached out to us. We haven't gone looking for it. They've reached out going, thank you for what you've done, for stepping up, taking the lead here. We would like to reward you as a thank you and keep this up. So, that's why we have the sponsorship messages play at the start of the podcast. And so when people say paid, no one is paying us anything apart from the sponsorship, which is makes it worthwhile. But again, we still do this because we actually believe in the project. We know there's building. Yes, we're critical at times. Well, I'm majorly overly critical. But it is again because we can, and we see in areas there can be improvements, so we get and voice our views on it. And the fact of the matter is, the foundation and people in there have taken the show seriously and know we have quite an audience. So we're not paid to shill. We literally do it because we love it and we do believe in it. So I don't know, Iconograph. I saw that. I know they're never gonna. The people who put these comments are never gonna listen to this show because that's just everyone's a keyboard warrior on Twitter. But I felt I wanted to address this because we aren't influencers that are getting paid money to just keep hyping up stuff. It's not like that. So that's all. As always, though, not financial advice. Do your own research. We're just a couple of guys that love Icon and want to bring all that news to the forefront so everyone knows what's going on. Anything else to add, Iconographer?
Nope, I think you pretty much said it.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Until next time, take care. Like, subscribe, share.
See ya.